Oh, I was on Facebook, with the pending TikTok shutdown, and I looked for this video on TikTok, but I did only found it on Facebook. I didn't find it on TikTok. So Mayor Eric Adams has announced that they basically want to do financial literacy. Let me let him say it himself.
Today, I'm setting an important new goal. We will make sure that every single New York City student can learn how to save and spend money.
Now, I would have simply said they're going to learn how to save money, but, he said that they're going to learn how to save and spend it. I'll get to that in a minute.
By 2030, we're going to put a financial educator in every single school.
Okay, so this whole thing about financial educator. First of all, I think one of the things that we need to understand is most of the people who actually have jobs who are giving financial advice, most of these people really don't have solid financial backgrounds. When I say that, you'd have to actually go into their background. You'd have to do checks personally on their credit. You'd have to basically look at their credit report. And I guarantee you, they ain't no financial advisor who's going to let you see their credit report. Now, even with myself, I have a perfect 850 credit score, but I am never actually showing anybody my entire credit report, because then they'd be able to, really go piece by piece, and they'd be able to see exactly how much I own on my properties. They'd be able to see exactly how much I owe on whatever I have. Like for instance, if they saw my credit report, they'd know exactly how much I owe GM for my Cadillac Lyric that's on lease right now. Now, they would be able to see that, oh yeah, my Jeep SRT's paid off, but they'd be able to see other things that I might not want them seeing. Some of the things I really wouldn't care about, but they would be able to see. They'd be like, oh, well, you owe Wells Fargo this much. You got 2 mortgages, or you got 2 houses, or you got 3 properties or something. You owe Wells Fargo this much money. I might not want them seeing that. Then the question I'd ask is, okay, so let's ignore how much money they owe. What about their actual credit scores? Now, their credit scores doesn't show their credit history, just the credit score, which I love to show off my credit score. My credit score is a solid 850. In fact, I think I'll show it again, since every time I mention it, I love showing it. But my credit score is a solid 850. And the thing about it is, the only way you get to that point is, number one, you pay every single bill on time. Number 2, you pay off your student loans. Number 3, you pay off whatever mortgages you have. You don't have to fully pay them off to reach 100% 850. The thing about it is, it helps. The more you pay, the more debt you pay down, the less debt to income you have. The debt to income ratio is something that I would say only within the last maybe 15 years, people actually really started to understand. Most of these people, the only reason why they want to have good credit and repair their credit is so that they can go deeper into debt. Like, they're anxious. Like, let's say their credit is screwed up right now. They want to repair their credit just because they want to buy something that they otherwise can't buy. I'm on the road now. I see more Hyundais, I see more Toyotas, I see more Kias than ever before. And all that tells me is that these people probably went to Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and they got flat out turned down. They went into Dodge dealerships looking to buy Hellcats, and they got flat out told no. The interest rates used to be 3%, but now they're 7 and 8%. And basically, your payment per month it's doubled. You can't afford that. So what they do is, oh man, my credit sucks, so I got to repair my credit so that this way I can go to Mercedes, I can get that new C-Class or something. And the thing about it is, they're really only trying to repair their credit so that they can buy stuff that they right now have been told no. And I am thankful to the banks, and I'm also thankful to the insurance company for finally telling these people no. Because other than that, all they do is run up debts that they can't pay. And then the repo man has to do this very difficult job of going out in the cold to repossess their cars. And I watch Operation Repo, and it's really crazy watching those shows where the repo man has to go repo these cars. The way I see it is the police should be doing it, because if I was a repo man, I would drive around concealed carrying, because sooner or later, one of these emotional fools is going to jump out at me with a weapon and try to take their car back. Let the cops, I don't understand how that ever became anything more than the cops doing it. The cops should be repossessing stuff, because this way, you pretty much understand, if I try to come out against the cops and fight the cops going to put a bullet in my ass. Like, I don't like the fact that they have these people doing repossessions and most of these people aren't armed. It's like, if they come to get something that you haven't paid for and it's a lawful repossession, they should be concealed carrying. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that should be the law. And if they want to do it with cops, that makes more sense, because this is obviously a lawful repossession. But if you're going to have private companies do it, no, all of you should be concealed carrying. There's nothing short of my 45 or my 50 caliber that if I had to repossess cars, I'd be out there with that 50 caliber cocked and ready. Because the second somebody tries some shit, like they try to jump into the car and drive it off my truck, or the second somebody comes at me with like a knife or a glass bottle, boom! And it's just that simple, But I really think that, for citizen safety's sake, I think that the cops should be the ones repossessing these cars. But I say all that to say, these people aren't interested in financial literacy. They're interested in wasting money. Let me just let Eric Adams finish what he's saying.
District to provide workshops, counseling, and curriculum. We will open up 15 bank branches in our city schools.
What the fuck? Wait, whoa. First of all, we're in a situation right now where we have regular banks failing, and you're talking about opening up banks in the schools? For what? When I was a kid, my mom took me to, Republic National Bank, and I don't know if that bank still exists. But I had a Republic National Bank account, and I had a Little Republic National Savings Bank, whatever they were. I had a bank book. And every time, I didn't have a job at that time, but she would take me to the bank, and we would go through the ritual of having your bank book stamped and, putting a little bit of money in there. Back then, now this was during the 80s, so this was like between 86 and like maybe 95, right? So back then, I had this bank book, and, I'd be putting allowance into the bank. And the thing about it was, we had a lot of interest back then. Like, I remember at the height of my bank account, I was getting like $10, because it was like 10% interest. I was getting like $10 worth of interest, because I had like more than $2,000 in that bank account. But I do remember specifically that the bank account interest was about 10% on a savings account. And I'll never forget, I was supposed to be saving that money, towards school. But eventually, PlayStation came out. So what did I do? I took my bank book. I quietly didn't ask permission. I quietly took the bus, went to the bank, withdrew, I think PlayStation's price had dropped down to $199. It was like $199.99 if I'm not mistaken. And I withdrew enough money, I think it was $215 to be able to afford the tax. But I'm pretty sure I took out a little bit more, but I took out money just to buy a PlayStation. Before I'd gotten a PlayStation, I had already bought the video game Warhawk. And I was so desperate to play that game that I actually went out and bought the game before I had the system. And I had the game for like months before I actually had the money to buy the system in my hand. So I went to Toys R Us, bought that PlayStation, took that thing home, and I was hooked instantaneously. And of course, you can't just buy one game. You end up playing a game, you end up buying more games. But the point is, if I could have seen further and say, you know what? Instead of me taking this money and buying these video games, what I'll try to do is I'll try to save up the money, buy these video games. But what I'll do is I'll put some of this money into the stock market. God knows how much money I'd have right now. And the thing about it is that's the problem with financial literacy. People aren't interested in saving money. People are interested in spending it. In fact, this is another side story. I just had to send somebody a little while ago. In fact, I had to send somebody $100 in a one of those Zells where you send money from bank to bank, and it was a Christmas present for somebody who I absolutely know, based on the present, which is a gift card to the casino. They're gonna go take my $100 and they're gonna go to the casino and gamble that money away. So that was the gift. The gift was 2 cards, 2 people, $100 a piece, and they're gonna gamble my money. Literally, that's what they asked for. They asked for a gift card to go to the fucking casino to gamble their money away. Now, I'm not gonna be specific about these people. I'm not gonna say names or anything. But what would you say if I told you that both of these people are retired, they both have pensions coming in, and they both live in the fucking casino? Now, if that $100 gift card, they take my money, if they were to hit jackpot, you can be sure that I'm not getting any of that money because they'll be right back in a casino gambling that money away. So here I am getting them a gift card that they're going to gamble. And if they lose it all, that's my $100 out the window. And if they do win, I'm not going to see any of that either. So I mean, it's not the $100 gift that bothers me. It's the fact that I know I'm just throwing it away by giving it to them. I would prefer, it's like if I could buy them some dividend paying stock, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, here's $100 in NVIDIA. and when NVIDIA goes up, the value of your share goes up or whatever. And if it, even if it doesn't go up, you still get paid a dividend from it. Like that, I would appreciate. Like that, I'd say, oh, okay, I'm giving this person something that they'll have and hold. And they're going to take my gift card and they're going to go burn it up in a fucking casino. And if I had access to the money that they get on a monthly basis for pension, if I told you that they make over $10,000 a month on a pension, if I had access to their money that they're just getting for pension, I could make them millionaires just by investing it in dividend paying stock within a couple of years. But instead, I'm giving them a gift card so that they can go and get on one of these stupid fucking gambling machines. And these things aren't even the good game. When I was in Singapore, I visited a casino. And if you remember in the video, I didn't even play a single game. And I visited the Marina Bay Sands Casino just to see it. And I really wasn't impressed. But the thing about it is, these games are stupid. They're all computer controlled. They're all cheating you. And the only reason why they ever pay out is because they're forced to pay out by the auditors. Somebody's going to win, but chances are it ain't you. And the thing about it just blows my mind. People aren't interested in financial literacy. When you tell them stuff like, oh, you know what? You should pay off your credit card bill every night. When you tell them stuff like, oh, you need to not buy shit that you can't afford. You know those Gucci and Prada and Femi bags? Yeah, you shouldn't buy those. Or those Manolo Blahniks and fucking what are those things? What company is that? Manolo Blahniks is one, and then the other one is Gucci and those shoes and loafers and shit. When you try to tell people, yeah, you shouldn't be out there just buying that stuff and the fucking $400 or $500 shoes, nobody's trying to hear any of that. So does Eric Adams really think? First of all, Kathy Hochul, the governor, banned smartphones in school. The schools, for the most part, still have smartphones coming into school. Now you see Congress is about to ban TikTok. I'm waiting to see if they actually have the balls to pull that off. So we had today is the 12th. We got till the 19th, right? So they couldn't even follow through on that. So here you're telling me that you're teaching kids financial literacy So please explain to me how it is the kids come to the schools with $1,000 smartphones, with Apple AirPods. How much do those things cost? 200, 250. Apple AirPod Max, $500 headphone. You're telling me that you plan on teaching financial literacy to people who are literally parasitizing their parents. When I was a kid, I understood money to the point where I knew there were certain things I couldn't ask for. Like, I wouldn't ask for it just out of respect. Like Neo Geo. Neo Geo came out. Barely anybody knew what a Neo Geo was. But anybody who did know what a Neo Geo was wanted a Neo Geo. The thing was like $800 back then. I think each controller was like $150. And I was like, wait a minute. My parents can't afford that. I'm not going to ask for it. I think the most expensive video game system I asked for back then was Atari Jaguar. My father took me and he bought it. But if I had it to do all over again, I never would have made him buy that thing because, first of all, it sucked. But second of all, he spent like $400 on that thing. And to take that $400, I could have put that into stock. And I could have had a lot of money, right? I could have put that into Microsoft or Apple. And I could have had like millions of dollars right now. And then I think about the fact that these kids have suckered these parents into buying smartphones. Every single month, they're paying a smartphone bill for their kid's phone. The kid has no job. When I was in high school, I was told the only people who need a beeper are doctors and drug dealers. Now these kids, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, Metro PCS, Boost Mobile, they have suckered these parents into buying $2,000 smartphones. And then it's not about just buying the product. Now you got to pay a monthly fee on it. $100 a month, $200 a month. These kids got cable boxes in their room. I'm like, wait a minute. We got smart TVs now. The only thing you really need to pay for anymore is the internet. You don't need no cable box. You get a smart. I have a baby cousin, and I hooked up a smart TV, $100 TV. I think it was 20 inches. Hooked that shit up in his room. It instantaneously connects to the internet. In fact, I think I made a video about it. And now you don't even need a cable box. So guess what? That's $10 a month. I don't have to, or I should say my uncle doesn't have to pay to Comcast or whoever it is he's got the thing with, Spectrum. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, how did these corporations sucker these parents into spending this level of money with subscriptions? And if they even attempt to cancel the subscription, they threaten to charge you $300, $400, $500 as a severance fee because you broke the contract. I'm like, how the fuck did we let this happen? In fact, if you try to call them up, though, you know what they'll do? They'll offer it to you cheaper, and they'll try to give you a deal. They'll try to make a deal you can't say no to. For instance, I have Sirius XM. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I need Sirius XM anymore because most of the shows that I would listen to, for the most part, I could get most of that content on YouTube instead. Oh, no. You don't need to cancel it. $20 a month? No. You know what we'll do? We'll make it $7 a month or $6 a month. So they give you a deal that you can't say no to, and you say yes to it. And now they got these parents spending $200, $300, $400 a month. If they counted up what they're spending and wasting while they send their kids to school to sit on a fucking smartphone and watch TikTok all fucking day. And I think to myself, I'm like, yo, I wanted to see TikTok banned years ago because I knew, number one, it was a national security threat. Then I also knew it was turning people into freaking zombies. And they would just sit there and do nothing. Say what you want about YouTube, but understand my purpose on YouTube, I'm on here to make money. When I was making my money on YouTube, even now, most of that money I put into the stock market. So it wasn't enough just to make money on YouTube. It was more about putting it into the stock market to increase the money that I made on YouTube. They on TikTok, they don't get paid on TikTok. Most of them are they call it doom scrolling. Well, all you do is you just go video to video to video to video. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute. Y'all couldn't even stop the smartphones. I'm waiting to see if on the 19th, if you can manage to stop TikTok. But it's like, y'all don't follow through with anything. Now you're talking about opening up banks? Really? Really? You're going to have banks in the schools, huh? Mind you, that the overhead of banks has been outshined by the online banking systems that actually offer more interest if you go online and you put your money online. You're opening up banks? Huh? Let me let him finish.
To give students real world experience, opening accounts, saving, and investing.
Okay, first of all, I'll say it like this. If you're a kid, that means you're a kid, you don't have a job. You should definitely have a savings account. By the time you are in college, you should have a checking account. And you should understand that, yeah, if you bounce a check, they're going to charge you a hell of a lot more money for that check if you bounce a check. So you can't just write checks and not know that you have enough to cover them. That's number one. So you have to balance a checkbook, right? But now we don't really use checkbooks anymore. Now everything is digitized to the point where all you know is this is what my balance is. So therefore, this is how much money I can write or credit card swipe in order, or debit card swipe to take out of the account, right? As far as investment, you shouldn't be investing anything until you are stable. And when I say stable, you shouldn't really be investing money until you have income, regardless what age that is. And then you learn to take a portion of your income to invest. Now, your parents can put investments away for you, and they can even sign over entire portfolios to you. Like, you could be a benefactor, or you could be like, if something happens to them, the portfolio gets signed over to you. That's one thing. But what I'm thinking is, as far as investment, you shouldn't be really doing that until you actually have income, because by then, once you have an income and you've learned to balance a checkbook, you've learned to pay bills. Because you got to understand, investing, do you understand how so many, first of all, a lot of this cryptocurrency and all these other fucking Ponzi schemes and scams that are on the internet right now, who's putting the money into that stuff? That's kids putting the money into that stuff. Look at the GameStop short squeeze. I was online trying to warn everybody about that short squeeze. I was like, yo, stay away from this shit, stay away from this shit, stay away from this shit. I had people calling me up, hey, John, what do you think about the GameStop short? I was like, stay away from that shit. I recognized that was a pump and dump, like, right away. I was like, wait a minute, these kids aren't smart enough to do a short squeeze on a corporation. Somebody is using them in order to drive up the value so that they can hit the sell button. It's just like if you watch the movie Trading Places. In the movie Trading Places, what you remember is you had Eddie Murphy and you had, I think it was Dan Aykroyd. And the whole point of the movie was, at the end of the movie, they drove up the price of orange juice, and then they crashed it in order to get the Duke brothers to spend all their money driving up the price, only for the crop report to come out and say, wait a minute, this is bullshit, and you're about to lose all your money. And then the Duke brothers couldn't sell fast enough. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, these kids aren't smart enough to pull that off. Somebody is an insider, and somebody is using them in order to pump the price on the stock up and do a short squeeze. And then I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute, this has to be insider trading. It has to be. So then you find out Roaring Kitty, then the truth comes out, and you find out Roaring Kitty, the guy who was behind it. Then you find out, wait a minute, this dude's an insider. I was like, these kids aren't smart enough to pull that off. Now, with cryptocurrency, it's a little bit different. All you got to do is just keep putting money into it. That's all you got to do. You keep putting money into it and hope that it goes up. That's what investing looks like now. You know what investing looks like now? It looks like Robinhood. Now, we saw what Robinhood did during that short squeeze. Robinhood shut down the whole goddamn system to make it so that you couldn't pull your money out. When it became apparent that there was something afoot, there was a scam going on. When it became apparent, what did Robinhood do? They shut that shit down. They coordinated with governments to shut that shit down. The UK, the USA, they coordinated to pause trading. There were people who bought into that shit, and they will never see their money back. Every dime they spent, like after like $200, they'll never see their money back. They were told, oh, we're going to the moon. We're going to Jupiter. We're going to the Pluto. They were all that moon shit with the rocket ship, the diamonds and the hands. They tricked everybody into that shit. Meanwhile, I was like, nah, man, stay away from that. Stay away. I had a friend call me up. Never forget. Yeah, what do you think about the short squeeze? Yo, dude, don't do it. Stay away from that shit. To this day, I don't know if he went behind my back and put money into it or if he stayed out of it. But what I do know is that if he didn't listen to me, he lost money. Period. It is what it is. So my thing is, teach the kids to save their money. Teach them to save their money. Teach them what debt to income ratio. See, you know what the real problem is? You can't tell these kids how the bank thinks because you've never worked at a bank. And when I say worked at a bank, you don't understand what the underwriting process looks like when you're selling mortgages. I have sold mortgages. I have on my channel, I've taught people about using loan calculators. Loan You Later is the one I've always used. And I've made countless videos about that shit. Guess what videos of mine don't get views? The videos where I'm talking about financial literacy. That don't get no views at all. You know what videos get views? Oh, yeah, well, when you're talking about passport bros and you're talking about going on vacation, leave the country and get better women. You know what views, you know where my views are? I did a video, because first of all, YouTube throttles YouTubers. That's the reason why YouTube ain't serious no more. A lot of YouTubers don't even want to make videos anymore. Notice how Stephen Graham on his channel, he barely makes videos anymore. The last couple of videos he made was like about how California was falling apart. And now you see California literally burning down, right? When he was making those videos, yeah, I saw millions of views on those. But if you look at his other videos where he comes on with that financial literacy shit, most of those videos don't get no views. And it's not because the population doesn't want to watch them. It's because they're being throttled. The YouTubers themselves are being throttled. So if YouTube says, yeah, well, we're not going to show this shit. We're not going to even hype this. We're not going to post this. We're not going to show this. We're not going to promote this. Those videos don't get no views. You know what video I made that got a lot of views? I did like a short video about Johnny Somali, who's a dude over in Japan starting some shit and fighting with people. That got like 8,000 views. When you do videos about these car companies, Dodge, Chrysler maybe, yeah, you get views on those. Maybe you get 20, 27,000. It's not like the good old days before COVID. They've been throttling YouTubers. That's the bottom line. But guess what? When these Bitcoin videos come on, and these gurus and shit, all of a sudden, I see those all the time. You know? When Kevin O'Leary comes on, yeah, I see those videos. You remember when him and Stephen Graham, they convinced you to buy into that scam, and then the scam went under? Who was it? What was his name? What was that kid's name? Scam Bankman Freud or whatever? Scam Bankman Fried? Sam Bankman Fraud? What was it? Sam Bankman Fried? Sam Bankman Fraud. Oh, they were doing great. Meanwhile, somebody who's just doing regular videos, yeah, this is how you build your credit. You don't get no views on that shit. That's part of the reason why you've seen so many YouTubers scale back what they make. They don't even bother doing it anymore because it's not worth it anymore. They used to get lots and lots and lots and lots of views. Now they've been throttled. So they don't even bother anymore. Even the ones, I see YouTubers with over millions of subscribers. And when you look at their videos and you see how many views they're getting, it's like, wait a minute. How do you have millions of subscribers, but you only get like 4,000 or 5,000 views? It doesn't even make sense. Or how is it that your subscriber count is still stopped at 1.89? How do you not have 2 million subs by now? Something's wrong. That's what we're dealing with. And you want to teach financial literacy? How could you do it? Who could you do it with? Who are you going to get? Here's a question. Who are you going to get to teach financial literacy? Who? Who are you going to do it with? Before anybody would be qualified to teach financial literacy, show us your credit score. Show me your credit history. That's the first thing I'd say. That would be your interview right there. Show me your credit score. Show me your credit history. You know why? Your credit score tracks you and it shows your behavior with borrowing and paying back money. Show it to me. There's a lot of rich people who have a lot of money in cash. They got fucked up credit. You know why? Because they don't pay their bills on time. There's a lot of them who owe back taxes to the government. They don't pay their bills on time. Yeah. You see how when Trump was running, show us your tax returns. Your tax returns don't tell the whole story. The only thing the tax returns do is basically tell us what expenses you've had for the year. And in some of the cases, you've got billionaires who they work a job that only pays them $1 and then they collect all their money in bonuses. Tax returns don't tell the whole story. They don't tell the whole story. Credit history, tax returns, credit scoring, those things, a combination of those things tell the story. But my question is, who the hell are you going to get to teach financial literacy? Nobody's trying to hear that shit. They're trying to build their credit so they can go to Mercedes and buy what is it called? A G-Wagon. That's what they're trying to do. In fact, now the situation is desperate. They can't buy houses. You know why? Because the corporations have snapped up all the houses. The corporations figured out, they say, you know what? If we buy up all the houses, we can make these people permanent renters for the rest of their life, and they'll be paying us forever. And our corporation will simply go through cycles of changing its name, and we'll get more and more tax credits, and they'll be paying us for the rest of their lives. Even if they put a law through tonight that said BlackRock couldn't buy any more houses, look how many they already got. I am so thankful, and like I say it, I'm thankful to God that I'm in my house right now. I can talk as loud as I want. I've had friends, you go into their apartment and they have to tiptoe around because they're afraid of making too much noise. I can scream, I can shout, I can do whatever the fuck I want in my house. I got a ceiling fan right here. That ceiling fan's sitting up there looking pretty. I can look out my front window. I got a car sitting out in the front of my yard. I got a car sitting out in the side right now in the driveway. I got my Cadillac Lyric right there in the driveway. I got my $80,000 Cadillac Lyric sitting right there. I got my $80,000 Jeep SRT paid off sitting. That's how. Who are you going to get to teach financial literacy? Most of these people can't even buy a house. Who are you going to get? Who are you going to get? You going to get a CEO from Chase? Who are you going to get? Who are you going to get to teach financial literacy? There ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. They can't buy anything right now. They can't buy a house. So the little money that they do have piling up, they put it into expensive clothes. Or what do? They try to go out and buy expensive cars. Yeah, I want to get that Range Rover. That's all they thinking about. Oh, I want to get that Hellcat. Oh, I want to get that Hummer. That's all they thinking about. They ain't thinking about building up goddamn financial literacy. Who are you going to get? I got to ask the question, who are you going to get to teach this shit? Nobody's trying to hear that shit. Nobody's trying to hear it. All they're trying to do is get their credit score high enough so that they can go out there and go deep into debt. That's all they're trying to do. And when I say deeper into debt, that includes even buying a property. At this point, they'll sign on any dotted line. The banks. And then here's the thing that gets me. Everybody wants to blame the banks and the billionaires. This whole tax, okay. So you've had a couple of things that have happened recently. You got the California wildfires. I've seen people posting comments, oh yeah, well, why should I care about them? They were rich and blah, blah, blah. I don't care about these people. Yo, listen, I don't want to see anybody lose their home or their property. Like, for anybody to just come on and say stuff like that, like, yeah, I don't care about these people, there's something fucking wrong with you. Then think a little bit further back. Just a couple weeks ago, that CEO gets shot in the back. But first of all, I'd put that motherfucker to death as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a fuck how populist you are. That was murder, and that person left behind a family. That person, after you found guilty, which you will be, you'd be put to death. That's what China would do. China would say, you know what? Yeah, you just committed a murder. We're going to give you a 2-hour trial. You're going to be found guilty, and then you're going to get executed. That's exactly what should happen to him. And y'all think this shit is cute. Oh, yeah, well, he's in jail getting all of these love letters from women. And get the fuck out of here. That you'd be executed. That's it. That's the government that I'm willing to vote for. That's part of the reason why Trump is sitting in office right now. And Trump's pro-death penalty. There you go. So my thing is, these people are anti-wealthy people. Oh, Elon Musk, he got trillions of dollars. If he wanted, he could solve homelessness in 5 seconds and all that shit. Well, Elon Musk didn't get rich by wasting his money. Elon Musk didn't get rich by going to casinos. Elon Musk didn't get rich by not saving the money he had. Like I was like, yeah, Elon Musk, you should buy MSNBC and fire everybody. Elon Musk, you should buy CNN and fire everybody. But if he bought either of those things, he'd be down a considerable amount of money. He ain't going to do that. He bought Twitter. And at the time, I thought that was a bad decision. But now you see why he did it. He did it so he could talk shit all fucking day, and there's nothing you could do about it. You can't cancel him because he's bigger than you. And when I say you, I'm talking about damn near bigger than the government. The motherfucker's worth the goddamn... Our government is $36 trillion in debt. And this guy is worth, what, $400 billion? He's worth more than $250 billion? So he bought that so he could talk all shit he want. That's exactly what... So nobody can throttle him. So nobody can say, you know what, your videos aren't important, so what we're going to do is we're going to hide them. Or you know what, we're going to make it so that you stop your subscriber count at 1.89 million. Yeah, you don't deserve any more subscribers than that, so we're going to throttle your subscriberships. Or you know what, we don't like what you're saying, so we're going to demonetize you. I don't care what anybody says about Elon Musk. You could call him a racist. You could call him an Afrikaner. You could call him all that bullshit. You could call him an apartheid South. I appreciate him for doing what he did. And it's just that simple. I don't care if you understand the logic. I appreciate him for doing exactly what he did. Now, if it was me, I would have bought MSNBC, I would have bought CNN, I'd have fired everybody. And I would have called it Twitter NBC and no, I'm sorry. I would have called it Tesla NBC and Tesla CNN. And there's nothing you could do about it. But he said, no, I'm going to save my money so I get to be the world's first trillionaire. And you know what? That makes sense. But that's the point. He's not, if I was him, I'd be driving around in a solid gold Bugatti. But he doesn't do that. Warren Buffett goes out and buys used Cadillacs. And the dude is worth more money than God. But the dude's out there buying used Cadillacs. And what is it? He's, what is that called? He's, the other thing he does, or he just buys dividend-paying stock. You know, I'm like, he didn't get rich by buying solid gold Bugattis. He didn't get rich by buying brand new platinum-coated Cadillacs. He didn't get rich like that. He got rich by saving his money. These poor people, and this is a quote that I made myself. Poor people spend more money trying to look rich than rich people spend trying to look poor. Now, rich people, look at Zuckerberg, look at all these dudes who are super rich. These people come out their house and you see them and they look like regular people. Like it's like they're like chameleons. They're trying to blend in. Like they don't all wear these business suits and they're not all wearing Brooks Brothers. No, they're wearing, look at Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs looked like a bum. He looked like a rat. Steve Jobs, richest man at the time. One of the richest men at the time. Dude looked like a rat. He had like a regular shirt, and that thing looked dirty. He looked like he didn't shave. And that's how they do it. And they spend less money trying to look poor. Meanwhile, the poor people, they're driving around in Range Rovers that are about to get repoed. They driving around in Hellcats that are about to get repoed. They're driving around in Mercedes GLE 63s that are about to get repoed. They're driving around in BMW X6M competition editions that are about to get repoed. These people ain't trying to hear that financial literacy shit. They ain't trying to hear that. My question is, Eric Adams, where are you going to get the people to teach this shit? Because ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. Let me let him finish. Why is it over? Oh, okay. Well, okay. So let's assume that he did finish, but you can go on his Facebook and you can see it yourself. But now I'm not against teaching financial literacy. My only thing is, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. You're not. Here's my thing. Do you really think that the student loan industry wants kids knowing financial literacy? Do you really think that when they show them that paperwork for that FAFSA and tell them, oh, yeah, well, you could sign up for these loans, do you really think that they're going to read the promissory note that literally says, yeah, I promise to pay back every dime that I borrow? That's our problem now. We got people who read the promise. When I was in school, I read that promissory note. You got people taking out money. It's like they skim over the promissory note. And then when it comes time to pay it back, oh, well, I ain't got it. It's like, that's not how this works. You're only supposed to be taking out money that you know that you're using to get a job after you get your career, after you get your degree, that allows you to pay this money back. That's what the deferment is for. The deferment says, okay, you know what? You don't have to pay them bills right now. You can pay them back later. You think the student loan industry wants people knowing financial literacy? Do you think that these parents who want to brag about the school that their kids go to, do you think they worried about a promissory note? Do you? When they can brag about the big name school their kid got into? As far as I'm concerned, if your kid really was that good and got into that school, then they should have given them a scholarship. If that was me, I would have told them, it's like, listen, son, listen, daughter, if you get into one of these schools, and I'd actually do the finger quote too, if you get in, quote, quote, to one of these schools, that's fantastic. I'm proud of you. But if they don't give you a scholarship for that shit, if you didn't get into a scholarship, then nah, the answer is no. I'm not paying for it. So I'm not co-signing shit. No co-signers. I'm not co-signing any loans. If you want to go to that school, understand that the financial burden for that will be on you. Now, if you want me to pay for it, you can go to one of these city schools where, like CUNY, Queens, CUNY, Hunter, CUNY, any of these CUNY schools, or possibly even a SUNY school. But understand something. I'm not paying tuition and dormitory fees. It's not happening. I'll pay one or the other. And in fact, as far as I'm concerned, if you didn't get a scholarship for that, you could stay home. I got a room for you. I made your bedroom and all that shit, and I keep the heat on. So no, I'm not paying for that stuff. Do you think these parents are trying to hear that shit? Oh no, my kid got into Buckingham, and they going to Buckingham. Oh, how much is it? Oh well, yeah, it's $30,000 a semester, or it's $40,000 a semester. Yeah, we're doing the fast for right now. You ain't paying for that shit. And you never will be able to pay for that shit. We're $1.8 trillion worth of student loans right now, 2/3 of which are held by women. I don't think the student loan industry is trying to hear this. I really don't. I don't think the parents are trying to hear it. No, my daughter got into Buckingham. She's going to Buckingham. We're going to Buckingham. What is she studying? Oh, yeah, well, she's going to get a PhD in lesbian studies and underwater basket weaving. I don't think they're trying to hear this stuff. I really don't think they're trying to hear it. What they want to hear is yes to everything. When they ask for a loan for a car, oh, yes, you're approved for that Hellcat. Yes, you're approved for that Mercedes. Yes, you're approved for that BMW. Yes, you're approved for that Range Rover. Yes, you're approved for this house that you absolutely probably can't afford. Yes, you're approved for it. When you buy a house, you got mortgage, taxes, and insurance. Your mortgage, if it's a fixed rate mortgage, your mortgage doesn't go up, but your taxes and your insurance can. Ask the school taxes in my area. School taxes have been going up. And now they contact you and they say, hey, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you're short because the school taxes went up. And I know that you didn't know about it, so here's a bill, and this bill is due 2 months from now, and you owe us $1,800. And your school taxes went up, so you owe us $1,800. Or the other thing that happens, your insurance goes up Because let's say, God knows, let's say you're in California and your house and everybody else's house burns down. So now the insurance companies are facing bankruptcy. So let's say they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're in California, you're in Florida, and everything's flooded. Yeah, your insurance went up. Your flood insurance goes up. So now your monthly payments go up. So you go from $2,000 a month to $2,500 a month. That's not very radically different than what happened in 2009. What happened was you had people getting into these houses that they absolutely couldn't afford. They were getting these arm loans. When the bank should have said, no, you can't afford this, what they did was they said, nah, let's sell it to him and we'll collect our money, we'll get our commission. And after that, who cares if he can afford it or not? That's what they were doing. So you buy that arm loan, and you're paying $1,000 a month on a $500,000 house. But then after that initial 2-year arm loan period, all of a sudden now they want the principal. So you were paying the interest by itself. Now they want the principal. So guess what? Oh, your bill just went from $1,000 a month to $3,500 a month. Well, guess what? That's what gave you the 2009 financial crisis. The banks were in on it. The Congress was in on it. The presidency was in on it. And you know who else was in on it? The consumer who signed those loan papers was in on it. You knew you didn't have that kind of money. That's where you are. Nobody trying to hear that shit. Nobody trying to hear that financial literacy stuff. Nobody trying to hear it. So my question is, number one, and this is where I'll end because I can rant about this shit forever. But my question number one, who are you going to get to teach any of this stuff? That's number one. Number two, will they be forced to show you that they have a history of personal financial success? And three, I guess you could say, is the state or federal government going to pass laws that ensure that people who can't afford certain things aren't allowed to buy certain things? And I'm not saying aren't allowed, but what I should say, because it's unconstitutional to say you're not allowed to do it, but pass laws that say, the banks are given the freedom to deny you a loan without you being able to turn on, it's because of racism and sexism and misogyny, and they don't like transvestites, and they don't like transsexuals. Can the bank say no to you without you being able to pull some bullshit on them and try to sue them for turning you down despite the fact you work at McDonald's and you're applying for a $300,000 mortgage? That's where we are. We're at a situation where nobody takes any accountability, nobody takes any responsibility, and in general, the ignorance level is so high until teaching this stuff really doesn't matter because they're just going to go and do the opposite anyway. So that's just where I am with this. But I saw this, and I don't even know how long I've been ranting, but it just brought the anger out of me. I was like, are you kidding me? What y'all should be doing is making certain that the subways are safe so that now that you've allowed this governor to raise congestion pricing, that the people who are forced to now take the subway because they can't afford to drive back and forth anywhere aren't getting set on fire, aren't getting stabbed, and aren't worried about somebody shooting them. That's what y'all should be worried about. I think that's a fair thing to ask.
Do not ever let your parents give you their house. Do what the rich do instead. Baby, I decided to go ahead and retire, so I'm going to go ahead and give you that house now. That is so sweet, but don't put that house in my name. What? Do you not want the house? Of course I do, but you've owned this property for a long time and the property value has increased tremendously. Which means if you put the property in my name today, I'll be responsible for all the capital gains tax when I sell it. Look, girl, it can't be that bad. Mom, when you bought the property, it was $50,000 and now it appraises at $500,000. So when you put it in my name, I'm going to be paying over $88,000 in capital gains tax.
To be continued.